Hi guys, and welcome to Dee's Media World. Today I'm going to discuss with you my New York adventure I had last weekend. I was in New York for about 2 days, so I thought I would share some of the things I noticed and learned about the city. So I'm going to kind of break it up into different sections. Initial thoughts. My initial thoughts about New York before even going, is that I've heard that it's a very loud, noisy, busy city. That there's lots of people. There's always a lot of traffic. It's loud. It's bright. It's active. People say it's like a city that feels alive at all times of the day, and I would agree with that for sure. Just in terms of that, I totally agree with that notion. It is busy, it's loud, it's lots of people, it's overcrowded. Any time of day, like we were outside, like all of that day, all day, and the traffic never let up. Like from 9 a.m. to like 7 p.m., it seemed like it was consistent traffic. So I would definitely agree that my initial thoughts kind of lined up to what the reality was. My first impressions about New York was right when I looked out the window. The city looks, or the state looks very like crushed together. Like everything is smack dab beside each other. It is very cramped. I think that's the word, cramped. Like buildings on buildings. Like you don't see a lot of open space there. You just see buildings so close together. And it's even weirder when you actually are when you get out of the plane and you actually walk into the city. Because I'm from like a small town down south. So it's weird being in a place where there's no open space, there's no space between restaurants and the street, really, or how everything is sort of really close together. There's like no open space at all. Maybe I didn't go to Central Park, but Central Park might be like the only place that has some open space in it. We didn't see any of that. It was really impressive. The buildings are very tall, and so I think our tour guide, we did a tour, we did all kinds of stuff. I'll discuss that later. Well, he had said, since it's a small state, a small island, that instead of building, they can't build widthwise, so they had to build up. And you can tell because New York, has I think the biggest one of the biggest buildings in the world, skyscrapers everywhere. Like some companies, there was one store we went into where like the actual store is at the bottom, but like management would be on the top floor, and it was not even like a big company or anything. So it was really interesting. It's definitely really impressive, the art, the buildings, like artwork here. Like there's so many different types of building. The architecture is amazing. If you I guess I could definitely see if someone wanted to be an architecture, I mean in architecture, they would definitely could come to New York for that. Another thing I my first impression was it's definitely not a city for driving. If you have a car, I understand this is kind of with my initial thoughts. Like people use the subway or walk most of the time. It's like, and I can see why, because this is not a city that was built for driving. They didn't make a lot of space for cars, is what I'm getting at. Like they basically said, if you have a car, people who have cars are either not from New York, my impressions, they're not from New York, they're rich, or they're like a celebrity or something where they don't want to be seen because it's kind of inconvenient. Just with how much traffic I kept seeing, that seems inconvenient to drive anywhere. Like, and even taxi cabs and drivers will, and I'll get to that when I get to transportation. They will promote you to walk instead of taking a cab or to driving. That's really interesting. Tours and transportation. So with I went with my family, and we had decided that we were going to do a bus tour and we were going to do a ferry tour, and they're both awesome. And I would suggest if you have the time to do both because they're very different experiences. A bus tour, you're smack dab in the city. You can see everything like literally right in front of you. You can take lots of big pictures from inside the city. It's the tour we did was a hop on, hop off, so you could, they'll stop every couple, I don't know, minutes or so and say, hey, you want to get off in Chinatown? You can get off in Chinatown. You can get off at Little Italy, whatever, and shop. And then the next bus will come around and pick you up. So it's not just a tour. You can get on and off. I think that was awesome. Um, what's great about the bus tour, you can be at the top deck and it can have a cover over it, so you don't actually have to be out in the cold. You could also be downstairs in the inside of the bus as well, which is really cool. I really liked how the narrator that we had, or the host we had, was really like informative. He loved the city. You could tell he loved the city. He was really interested in, he's been doing this probably forever, but still loves talking about New York. You could hear the passion in it. People from New York definitely love New York, but I'm going to talk about that later. The ferry tour is very different. The ferry tour is more about the you can see the Brooklyn Bridge, you can see sort of the building, you see everything from a distance, but you can get some great pictures of the city. Like, if you feel claustrophobic, because when I first went into New York on foot and everything, I felt like everything was so close to me. I felt a little claustrophobic. But when you're on the ferry tour, it doesn't feel like that at all. You can just, you're like, it feels like you're on the outside of New York and you're looking or going around looking at it. So I think that was awesome. It's a different experience. We got to see the Statue of Liberty, and the Brooklyn Bridge, and we saw all the monuments basically, and were able to take pictures with them from a distance, which was awesome. In terms of getting around, we actually had gone to some events. We went to see Wicked, which was awesome, and we took a Uber. The taxi, we did try to take a taxi, just like when they do in the movies where you try to wave to a taxi or whatever. Didn't work. I don't know what we were doing wrong. I'm not sure, or maybe people just don't get taxis like that anymore. No idea. But we used Uber, which was brilliant because Uber is ridiculously fast. Like, we used Uber, I think, 5 times, and our Uber driver showed up no more than like 5 minutes after we sent in the app. Like, one time, I called an Uber from the elevator. We were going down the elevator, and he was already outside or almost outside by the time we got downstairs. Like, these Uber drivers, they're on it. One thing that was funny and weird at the same time is, as 2 out of 5 Uber drivers we had encouraged us to walk the rest of the way to our destination. So, like, we were going to the Gershwin Theater to see Wicked, and we were maybe halfway there to the theater. Like, we don't know New York like that. And he was like, yeah, you might want to walk the rest of the way. And we're like, no, we're not going to walk the rest of the way. We don't know how to get there. It's cold, it's dark. And on top of that, the way that Uber is set up, you've already paid for the ride. So it's like, we already paid you to take us, so you're going to take us there. I thought that was just weird. I was like, that's the culture, I guess, because I'm assuming he didn't really want to sit in traffic and have to, get some gas for traffic, because it's not really like a taxi. A taxi will, charges you for the mileage and how long it takes you to get there and all that kind of stuff. Uber, it's like it's kind of already automatically paid. But any case, besides that minor annoyance of them trying to almost kick us out of the car, make us walk the rest of the way, even though we had no idea how to get there, Uber is really awesome. And the transportation in New York, I did not get to ride a subway. We didn't have to. Everything we went to was very close by, so subway wasn't necessary. That's for, like, if I'm there for a longer period of time. We were only there for 2 days. We were there from early Friday, like 8 a.m. Friday morning, till we left Sunday at our flight was at 6 a.m. So we were there for 2 days and had to go literally, like, we didn't get to spend Sunday at all in New York. But in any case, I liked the transportation, and it was kind of cool. Shopping and food and souvenirs and whatnot. Uh, the best, actually, I think that one of the best things about New York is the variety of food. It is ridiculous how many different restaurants I saw. Not chain restaurants, but just like unique restaurants that I've never seen before, that must be either only in New York or whatever. Just in the 2 days I was there, like, I could have spent maybe a month trying all the different restaurants I saw just from those 2 days. Not even talking about the whole Manhattan area, just from what I saw. There were so many different restaurants. Just one little town. Like, if you go to Chinatown, that's a lot of restaurants in itself to try. If you go to Koreatown, that's a lot of restaurants to try. There's this place, I forgot the name of it. I don't think I wrote it down. in Koreatown where you go in and it kind of is like different booths of Korean food, different like chefs and different like owners and whatnot. So there was probably maybe 6 or 7 of those just in one building. Nonetheless, the other actual like full restaurants that are on the same street as Koreatown, it's crazy. The variety was awesome when it comes to food. The food we ate at a place called Quinn and Parker, which was nice. It was an expensive breakfast place. Probably the most expensive food we had. We had what was just awesome in New York is pizza. New York style pizza is really popular. They had by, right across the street, they had a place that sold. There's lots of places actually that sell like $2, $1 pizza. We tried the $2 one. It was really good. I was jealous that people could just go and have $2 slices of pizza every day. Where I'm from, you really don't get they really don't sell you slices of pizza. You have to get a whole pizza if you want pizza. It sucks. Another thing I loved, I saw the world's largest Macy's. The Manhattan has the world's largest Macy's. The creator or founder of Macy's was born and raised there or whatever, and he built it up. I learned something about him. I don't remember his name, but I learned that he had a tattoo of a star, and that's how that became the logo for Macy's is the star. Any case, we went into Macy's. It was awesome. It's at least we went on 9 floors. It could be more. Might be 10 floors, 10 stories. It's pretty big. I would definitely say I didn't get to explore the whole store, but my favorite part about Macy's for sure was the Christmas section. We didn't get to see the whole Christmas section because it's not completed yet. It was only Halloween when we went, but they had a decent amount done. I have some pictures to show you guys that was done for it. It was just so beautiful. Like New York is kind of known for going all out for Christmas. It's considered kind of like a very Christmassy kind of atmosphere. They're already getting prepared for it with the lights and whatnot. I think I saw a picture on Facebook today where they put up one of the big Christmas trees. Like once Halloween is over, it's Christmas time. So I wish we could be there for Christmas or around Christmas, but it's way too expensive to go to New York for Christmas. I was just grateful and glad we got to go now. But Macy's was pretty awesome. There was a lot of souvenir shops. So we went around that area where the Macy's is it's down like Avenue of America. It's around that area. And it's very funny how there's so many different souvenir shops. Like I've never seen a city brand itself so much. So you could go, I guess every other block you would see a different souvenir shop. And a lot of them might have the same things, but they'll have some will be bigger, some will be smaller, some will have better quality than others. Like there was one where it was really big, but it had kind of your typical little souvenirs, little Statue of Liberty, little hats and stuff. Very basic stuff. And then there were some that were really small and had a little bit more. Like this is a sweater I got. I didn't see it in any other. We went to like 6 different souvenir shops. I didn't see any other souvenir shop have like a hoodie, a zip up hoodie, which would seem common sense, right? But we only saw it in that one shop, which was pretty awesome. We also got 5 shirts for $10. These are 2 of the shirts I got in Chinatown. This was in Chinatown. I don't know if you can see the NYC. In Chinatown, we got 5 for $10. So I got my friends. These are my 2 shirts I got. I got my friends some shirts too, which is awesome. So souvenirs are relatively cheap. It just depends on the store. Well, that's all. That's really lots of markets. There's food. I don't know if they call them food trucks. They're not really food trucks. They're like food carts everywhere. That would sell like some kind of Arabian food I saw. You could get pretzels. You can get all kinds of stuff. It just being food carts, not just so restaurants. They have markets that are kind of like we were in one market that was pretty awesome. It was kind of like Whole Foods or Fresh Market, except it was smaller and kind of more to the point. Like you don't have that many options, but it was cute and it was really accessible and easy to get to. And then you have your restaurants. So you got like hundreds of food options. Like, whether or not you're a foodie or a picky eater, you shouldn't have a problem in New York, I would think. Final thoughts. My final thoughts of New York is that of all the places I've been to, which haven't been that many, it's probably been my favorite so far. My second favorite has been probably Las Vegas. I've been to Las Vegas. And I still love Indiana. That's one of my favorites. But New York truly does have a different feel. Like my friends and people who've told me who've been to New York before or who live in New York now say that New York sort of has a different atmosphere and feel. I wouldn't say like it's super dramatic, but I will say that it's a very active place. Like I feel like if you go out at almost any time of day, any time of night, you'll see lots of people. You might see lots of traffic. You'll see lights. You'll see people doing things, minding their own business, having fun, laughing, wearing weird costumes. We were there on Halloween. There really was not as many Halloween costumes as I would have expected. Like if someone had told me, "Oh, you're going to New York for Halloween," I'm thinking, spider webs would be on Macy's. There'll be scary ghosts and scarecrows all over the city. The most I actually saw really in terms of decorations was like pumpkins and stuff. Halloween, I guess, is not New York's thing. It really is Christmas. That's when they go all out. New York is also not a place for someone who's a non-walker. Like if you have a walking disability, if you don't really care for walking, whatever the case may be, New York is probably the last place you want to go to because everything is close together. That's true, but you still gotta walk. And sometimes that can be far, depending on what's wrong with your legs or why you don't like walking. And I saw that with some people I knew. I was like, oh yeah, you're not the best walker. You don't really care for walking. Not a great place for you to go to. It's much easier and convenient and cheaper to just walk down the street to the store that you want to go to instead of calling a cab or Uber or whatever. It's definitely not for the non-walkers. Is it for people who have wheelchairs? I guess if they can navigate through all the people, uh, maybe. It's. I also thought New York. I definitely understood now, why people would move to New York, especially if they're young, single, adventurous. It's. I would not say it's a place for like if you want to start a family. For starters, it's so expensive to live there, so I can't even imagine like legitimately having a family in New York. Some people do, at least in the movies they do. But New York's definitely great for the young because of the options. Like I said, the options with food, like all your money. I bet New Yorkers spend all their money on like food, going out, going to plays, and going to the theater, going to clubs, going to bars, whatever. Um, I bet a lot of young people like love people who live there just love New York for that. And it feels like a place that New York, unlike other states in the U.S., has sort of a we know kind of we know there's many different cities there. Like everyone knows, or has heard of, Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, the Upper East Side. Like there's plenty of shows that are settled in like each of those cities or those neighborhoods. And it's interesting because I was thinking like no other state really has like, no one really knows like Virginia outside of DC or knows Indianapolis outside of Indiana. Like you just know like one city, or it might be Detroit or Chicago, but you don't know like a bunch of other cities in that state. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't get to visit the Bronx or Brooklyn or anything yet, but as like I know about them, I know I learned a little bit. I think they said the Bronx had the highest population, and it's the whole state is overpopulated, but that area especially is overpopulated. In terms of people, I didn't get to talk about people. People say that like New Yorkers are notoriously rude. We were there only 2 days, so I didn't really get a full feel of the people. I didn't really feel like people are people. So wherever you go, especially where there's lots of them, there's gonna be some rude people, and then there's mostly. I feel like people mostly minded their own business. like, like I didn't really get rude as it, but move on. Like okay, and a lot of people. I will say that um, there's a big mix of people in New York. Like, it is not like I don't know what the racial standing is in New York, like in terms of the percentages, but it definitely didn't feel skewed either way. Like it felt like I saw like, black, white, Asian, of different types of Asian, like Chinese, Korean, Indian. I met one guy who's from Bangladesh, like other racially ambiguous Asians. Not really sure where they're from. Uh, saw, heard different accents that I hadn't heard in a long time. Like, oh yeah, there's so many different types of people here. A lot of them were probably foreigners or visitors and whatnot. But I was like, yeah, it's sort of like this big, just meeting of so many different types of people. Like, if that's why people move to New York. Like when people, migrate from their country to the States, New York is the place they kind of go to because nobody's going to truly notice them. In a way, they're not going to truly feel like an outsider because there's so many different people who look like them or look like other people. It's not, it's so vastly different. So much variety. In terms of one more thing about people, I will say in Chinatown and then some of the people who own the souvenir shops, they are hustlers. Okay, they are trying to get that money. They will try to help you find what you want, but they want you to make a sale. Like it's where I'm from. I get the feeling that like vendors will kind of give you your own space. They don't really take it personally if you do or don't buy something. Like they'll help you out and keep it moving. But in New York, I get the feeling more like they're trying to get that paper. I heard that does seem like a true stereotype of New Yorkers. I will say, um, what I guess I love the variety. Before I talk about that, I love the variety of food. So it's a variety of everything. It's food. It's a variety of people. There's a variety of places to go. It's a variety of just everything. It's like some people say a melting pot. I'm not a fan of. It's like a fruit salad, I guess, is what they call it. Like where it's a bunch of different parts put together, but they all have their individual flair. Like everything has its own purpose. It has its own. It still stands out by itself. Um, we were only in Manhattan most of the time, but I loved being in Manhattan. For what I saw, I loved how live the city was. I'm definitely not a city girl, but if the question was, would I live in New York? Um, I would say temporarily, like maybe 6 months to a year, long enough to sort of check it and see what it's all about, so to speak. Like go to those places I saw that I didn't have time to go to, shop in those places, be there long enough to feel like I lived there before coming probably back. I'm not a big city person in terms like New York is like the big city for a reason. It is the ultimate city to live in. Like there's a phrase, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And I can sort of understand that with so many people who live there and you're trying to stand out, it's kind of awesome. And there's so many different distractions you can have just in New York. Just to stand out in a city like it. I understand now why people say if they can make it there, they can make it anywhere. It's very expensive though. So, I mean, if you can make it there, I guess you really can make it anywhere. That's pretty cool. Um, Overall, I really liked my visit. It was only 2 day visit in New York, but I really enjoyed it. I loved walking down the street, looking at the different shops. You could easily, if you were on your cell phone or you're on this phone or whatever, you could easily walk by, these unique stores or these unique restaurants or something. So my favorite part really was just walking down, looking at the different restaurants and different little shops and stuff, just to see what they had going on. It's just like, oh, like you don't have to, like Yelp is a great app, Yelp and things like that. But if you have the energy to just walk, you really don't have to use it. All you have to do is walk around a little bit and say, hey, let's try that Indian restaurant right there. That looks fun. Why not? Or let's go to Chinatown and just pick somewhere and get something to eat, or Little Italy or Koreatown or whatever. I don't even know how many little towns they have, but we went to those three, so I don't know if there's more. But like just those alone, you find a bunch of places and variety. So, any case, I had an awesome time, and I thought it'd be fun to share it with you guys. And I hope you enjoyed some of the pictures and footage I have. I didn't do a lot of vlogging because I was so on the move, like a New Yorker would be. So I didn't have time to record everything. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys later. Bye.